The one I'm really excited about is number 14 LSU at number 8 Alabama, 7:45 p.m. Eastern Time on CBS. This is deja vu, Dalton. I was doing some research as to what the matchup was like last year and what it's like this year. So last year, these two teams played in Week 10. It's Week 10 this year. Last year, Alabama was 7-1. They're 7-1 this year. Last year, LSU was 6-2. They're 6-2 this year. LSU was eliminated from the playoff already last year. Alabama's still kind of holding on for this year. LSU can eliminate Alabama again from the college football playoff. And not only that, if LSU wins, they could kind of take control of the SEC West, although it is kind of weird because they have lost to Ole Miss already. But last year, the same thing was true too. When LSU beat Alabama, there was kind of a three-way tie, chaotic tie at the top between LSU, Alabama, and Ole Miss. If LSU wins this game, there'll be a three-way tie again between LSU, Alabama, and Ole Miss. So it is really weird how similar the circumstances are in this game, with Alabama having the same record, LSU having the same record, same week they're playing. Ole Miss is still in the fight for the SEC West as well. It's very weird. It really does feel like deja vu for last year.
It does, but I'll tell you the difference for me. I think the stakes in this game are kind of weird too, because I think LSU, even with two losses, the two losses that they have, they're the one team with two losses that I don't think is out of the playoff race.
Yeah.
You talk about at Alabama, all right, and I don't think they have much in the way of like hard games in the regular season after this. But if they were to let's just say you were to win at Alabama and you were to find a way to beat Georgia in an SEC title game, let's just assume it's Georgia because we both picked them against Missouri.
Yeah.
How much weirdness would have to happen for a two-loss LSU to sneak in at number 4 if they run the table from here in?
Would a two-loss LSU, my question would be, would a two-loss LSU get in over a one-loss, let's say, Florida State? Probably, right? No, Florida State's got the head-to-head, though.
No, they got them head-to-head, but I think at this point, if you're talking about Florida State losing a game, who's it to? Miami or Florida or Louisville?
Yeah.
Because, okay, just take some of the one losses. They beat Bama, take them out. Do they get in? How about this? Do they get in if they beat Georgia in the SEC title game over a one-loss Georgia?
Probably, yeah. I'd probably say yeah.
Do they get in over a one-loss Michigan if Michigan loses to Ohio State?
Yeah, that means Ohio State probably goes undefeated, though, right?
Correct. Ohio State will be number 1 at that point.
Okay, so then, yeah. Yeah, they probably would. Yeah, I will get them. So they're not out.
And then what do you need to happen in the Pac-12?
Yeah, and the Big 12
just
could
madness.
Be out. Big 12 is out. I think they get in over one loss, Texas or Oklahoma, probably. Right?
But definitely Oklahoma, I think.
Texas. Yeah, I think Texas too.
If you've got wins on the ledger at Bama and against Georgia, especially an undefeated Georgia, you start talking. I think it's weird because it's never happened, but I think they're a two-loss team that's not out of it. The stakes in this is an elimination game. It both ways, not just for Bama.
Yeah,
because I think LSU, you've got a real case if some weird things happen. If let's just say the board is as I have it here, and you have Oklahoma and Texas both losing. And maybe Washington keeps squeaking by, but they got to play Oregon again, right? If Oregon splits with Washington, I'm assuming that Washington's not going. Oregon still has to play USC themselves. There's a lot that could happen here, and I think LSU's got a lot in their own hands. I think this is fun because it's
the tinfoil hat's out right now. I love it. We got the conspiracy theories. This is great.
Well, and then I just have no idea what the standards are for getting in the top 4 based on what we saw last night. I don't know if it's resume or who's hot or who's the best, or if Jaden Daniels wins a Heisman, will they just want a Heisman winner in the playoff?
Yeah.
Or I don't know what they're looking for. It's the one thing. Like I said, I'm cool with Ohio State at 1, but I have no idea how they got the rest of it.
No. Yeah, it's inconsistent for sure. Dalton, there is obviously a clear matchup in this game. Maybe the best matchup of the entire season. Is that the matchup you're going for your matchup to watch in this game?
You already know. I've been waiting for this for a month and a half. Yeah, you've got Jaden Daniels and the best offense in the country.
Yep.
99.9 deep passing grade. They just take shots like crazy.
It's on a 100 scale, by the way. 99.9 out of 100. It's not like a 200 scale. It's a 100 scale.
Yeah. Neighbors and Thomas both have a 99.9 deep receiving grade, coinciding with that. This offense is nuts. It's the one offense that, at least in the SEC, that really just outscored Missouri. I told you, Missouri has a top 10 to 12 offense, and LSU is one of the few offenses I would put above it. Jaden Daniels is such a weapon. I really think he's going to work his way into late first, early second round conversation. He's the best dual threat. He's the best dual threat in the country right now. And they're just a big play machine against Alabama, who we both believe is the best secondary in the country, right? Terrion Arnold, Kool-Aid McKinstry, Caleb Downs, elite players, the best deep cover grade in the country at an 85. Just two teams that are just so. This is the unstoppable force against the immovable object. Mm-hmm. It really is. I told you, I've been waiting for this for 2 months. I'm like, because you can just tell you've got. You have. I know Penix and USC and these other teams are explosive. There is, for as much talk as the Pac-12 gets, there is not a more explosive team in the country than LSU. It's really a shame that especially their defense has let them down, because this offense is good enough to win a national title. It is. I mean, they got outscored against Ole Miss. Was it 55-49, somewhere in there? I mean, Ole Miss took 53, 55 points to beat them. Florida State, LSU wasn't quite. They weren't this in the Florida State game. There's been some changes where after that game they got more vertical. This is a whole different team than you saw in Week 1. This is that Week 1 game against LSU. That was last year's LSU carrying over, and they've just found this formula, especially when Brian Thomas got going as the second option. And now, and Daniels obviously being an elite runner. I don't know how Alabama can stop them, or you don't really stop them. You slow them down and hold them hopefully to 30. And if Nick Saban's not the guy who can find a way, I don't know who is. But this is maybe the best matchup of two units you're going to see all season.
It easily is, man. I mean, Jaden Daniels leads the country in overall grade, 92.3. He's tied with J.J. McCarthy for the highest. But McCarthy's played a way easier schedule than Daniels has. Neighbors leads the country in receiving yards. Brian Thomas Jr., the number 2 receiver for LSU, is tied for first in the country in receiving touchdowns. Their number 2 receiver has the most touchdown catches in the country this year. That's how ridiculous this offense is. And if Daniels wins this game, he is, in my opinion, the clear front runner for the Heisman Trophy. I don't think there's anyone even close to him, honestly, Dalton. If he wins this game, I don't care what Penix does against USC. I think Jaden Daniels is close enough right now. If he goes out there and has another great game against Alabama, I would say he's the clear front runner for me for the Heisman Trophy. I know you're kind of – what do you feel about that? Do you not think he'd be the front runner for you?
I don't think it's clear. I think Penix – I think Penix is solidly in that mix. And I think the way he's played the last 2 weeks, Bo Nix is still in that mix. I don't think it's clear. I had him second when we did this a couple weeks ago. I would probably still have him a close second for sure. If he wins this game,
and he's elite in this game, like he has a Jaden Daniels.
I think I've asked you this before. Do they include conference title in Heisman?
Yeah, they do.
I'd have to see that too.
Okay.
Or like if we saw Penix lay an egg this week or something. I don't think it's like clear.
Okay.
I think he's clearly. I don't think you can make a top 3
without him.
I would even argue top 2 without Jaden Daniels.
Agreed.
I don't think so.
I think it'd be obvious. I think against Alabama, man, if he does this, that I'm like, all right, it's him.
Oh, if he does come out here and do some Joe Burrow 500 total yards and 5 touchdowns, and we're gonna have some serious arguments about it on Monday.
Yeah.
I gotta see it.
Okay.
That's fair. That's murky because, like you said, these are 5 massive games, and you've got and you've got Penix and Daniels both now. They're playing huge games every week. This is going to be one of those jockeying type of races.
Yeah.
This is a fun Heisman race this year, man.
It is, honestly. It is a very fun Heisman race. I actually put out a take yesterday, and we'll get into it in a little bit, but I think Bo Nix might end up winning the Heisman Trophy because I think they're going to beat Washington in the rematch. And I think that Pac-12 championship game might be for not only for the Pac-12 championship, that might be for the Heisman Trophy too. So
here's the question, and this is the argument I made for Shedeur when we did this, and now his team just totally let him down. Does it carry any weight to you that like Washington and Oregon's teams are so good, and LSU really, for the most part, there's a handful of other good players, and they had a hard time getting Harold Perkins going. But does it matter to you that Jaden Daniels has to carry more of this roster than Nix and even Penix kind of in the incubators a little bit?
Yeah, I think that's a good argument. But I would also say he has at least better receiving core than Oregon, at least. Washington is definitely a debate, but that one I would also put too. Is like, okay, he still has Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas and like all that. So that's why I think that's a good point, and honestly helps my case with Jaden Daniels if he does win this game. But yeah, that's a good point. I don't know. I think it'll be close though. I think we'll get into the prediction in just a second, but I think that'll be close. Another matchup besides the secondary versus those receivers versus Jaden Daniels, Dalton, that will affect this passing game. You saw on the graphic right there, Dallas Turner and Chris Braswell have been the best edge duo, I think, in college football this year. 16 sacks, that is tied for second among all edge duos in the country. Turner, sixth among Power 5 edge defenders with a 21.9% pressure rate. Braswell is tied for third among Power 5 edge defenders with 9 sacks this year. However, LSU, just looking at the offensive tackles for LSU, when you combine those two grades, they're the second highest graded offensive tackle duo in the country, behind only Air Force, by the way. So you can make an argument LSU is the best tackle duo in college football. Will Campbell, a guy who I loved his true freshman tape last year, he's been incredible this year. He's probably, if you want an OT1 in 2025 for the NFL draft, it's probably Will Campbell right now, man. He has been phenomenal. And then Emory Jones, who was a true freshman last year as well, he's really stepped up. He was kind of meh as a true freshman, really has been stepping up as a sophomore, has played pretty well as well. So LSU has the highest graded tackle duo in the Power 5, and Alabama has the best edge duo in the country, man. So I think that'll be a really, really good matchup in addition to LSU's receivers against Alabama's secondary, and of course Jaden Daniels going against that defense as well.
Yeah, this is a hard one. This is a really hard one because there are so many good matchups across the board, and I wonder if the key isn't actually on the other side of the ball for as much as we're putting the spotlight here of LSU. The last 3 games has kind of sort of figured out some coverage issues, although it's a little tilted because they just played Army, and you don't really even have to send a secondary out there against Army. I wonder if this is the fun part. This is the fun side of the ball, right? I wonder if the difference in the game, this for me is actually the hardest game to pick, because I think there's strength on strength and then there's weakness on weakness. Yep. Alabama's offense kind of stops and starts a bit. They run the ball really well. Milroe with the big, does he lead the country in big time throw rate?
He does, yeah.
Or he's at least in the top 3 somewhere if he leads it.
He leads it, yeah.
Big arm, wants to hold the ball. Can he hold the ball against Harold Perkins? Is he coming to get him? Is he going to spy him? I think there's a lot of mystery on the other side of the ball. And if LSU's secondary starts kind of sort of to have things figured out, can Milroe manufacture points? Enough points. They are not going to hold LSU to less than 30 points. I don't, even against Bama, I don't see a scenario where LSU scores under 30 points. Is the suspense in this game the other side of the ball? And Alabama, we've seen them be better on offense. They've been good, but they've been elite on defense and good, sometimes even just good enough on offense. 24 on Arkansas, 24 on Ole Miss. What did they score on A&M? 28? 27?
I believe something like that. Yeah, I'll look it up real quick.
They have not hit 30 points real often this year. This is a hard game to pick. This is I just think, and then there's some schematic things too where we mentioned, I think we had in the trivia a couple weeks ago, Malik Neighbors is also the best slot receiver in the country.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's a spot you want to get Bama, just to put your thumb in, they allow almost 75% of passes to slot receivers to be completed, seventh highest in the country. There's some tweaking here that can go. I think between Daniels scrambling, evening out the pass rush, and Neighbors in the slot, and this is a tight one. What do you think of? Let's put it this way. What do you think Bama's offense is capable of doing? Because I think they're going to have to be as good as they've been all year.
Yeah, I think they're going to have to be as well. Although I do think LSU's defense, it's like you said, it's the unstoppable force against the immovable object when LSU has the ball, and it's the stoppable force against the movable object and the other side of the ball. So that's the interesting matchup in this game. I do think Jalen Moreau, I've really, really been impressed by him these last few weeks. I think he's really figured it out since being benched. I think they're going to be able to take advantage deep on LSU and make some plays like Ole Miss did, honestly, in that game as well. I think Alabama, that's ultimately, I'll go first on my prediction. I think Alabama wins 31-30. I think it's going to be a great game again. I think LSU hits 30 points, but just barely, because I do think that Alabama secondary and the Alabama pass rush will create some problems. Some problems. Not all problems for LSU, but some problems. I think Alabama gets revenge on them. It's in Tuscaloosa as well. I think Alabama wins by 1 point and keeps their playoff hopes alive.
Man, this one's hard. This is the hardest game.
It is the hardest
because you also have the factor of, since Saban's been at Alabama, he's only lost to the same team 2 years in a row twice. And I believe it's been 9 or 10 years since someone did. I believe it was Ole Miss that did it 9 or 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's as hard a game as we've had to pick all year. I'm actually going to take it. I kind of want my 2-loss narrative to keep going. I think Jaden Daniels. I've been riding this, and I really think if he plays really well in this game, he could find himself in first round conversations. I think Bama's secondary can obviously play with them, but there's been moments, second half against Arkansas, first half against Tennessee. I think Alabama's going to need to play a complete game, and I can't really think of a game this year where they've done it. There's just this stop and start thing with Bama, and the problem is if you go 2-3 drives with 3 and outs or short drives, you don't want Jaden Daniels to have the ball in his hands. No. They really need to run the ball well, and I think LSU can compete with them in the run game. I'm gonna talk myself. I'm gonna talk myself into LSU here.
All right.
I think Bama. I think I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go 38-34.
Okay.
LSU, because you mentioned 31, and even I might be generous with 34. I think we need to see another level of offense from Bama. And I don't know that 9 weeks into it we're going to get that. Right. I'll take the Tigers, and I honestly am literally making this decision as you see me thinking about it. This is a hard one. You've got strength on strength, you got week on week, and I think Jaden Daniels solidifies himself maybe as a first round prospect in this game.
I love it, dude.